In this video, we'll talk about the easiest mounts we can get in Undermine. To clarify some things though, when we say easy, it doesn't equate to a high chance of getting the mounts. We mean by easy, by how little time we have to spend in a certain activity throughout the week in order to get a chance of getting a mount, as well as the general overall skill required to getting these. The first easy mount up is going to be this season's Delve mount, called the Delver's Globetrotter. For those who haven't gotten it yet, this will be rewarded from Brand Bronzebeard after completing a quick 3-part questline. We actually even get the mount at the second quest. We'll run a scenario recounting how Brand lost his hat and the death of Johnny Awesome. Or is it? After we complete the scenario, we'll be rewarded the mount easy peasy, and we don't even have to complete this 3-part questline all the way. Pretty straightforward. The next mount up is going to be the Darkfuse Spy Eye, which will drop from the Cartels specific rare, Darkfuse Precipitant. In order to spawn this rare, a single person has to be above Renown 6 with the Cartels of Undermine and the friendly reputation with the Darkfuse solutions. That person will then have to purchase the canister of Darkfuse solution from Stitch Lowdown for 100 crystals, and finally with that item they can click on this machine located here and start the cartel event. The mount will have a below 5% drop chance from this rare, but it is a weekly loot lockout per character, meaning we can farm this with multiple alts. The next mounts up will tie into the scrap digging event. These are going to be the personalized Goblin Scrapper and the Salvage Goblin Gazillionaire's flying machine. So for that flying machine, this will drop from the rare Gallagio garbage. During the scrap digging event, we have a chance of spawning it when we fill up the bar to 500. Though keep in mind that there isn't any loot lockout for the mount, meaning we can farm for this mount multiple times per day per character. As a general tip for filling up that bar though, make sure you're running over to the blue circles, which will give us a digging buff, further increasing the amount or the speed at which the bar fills up. And they're just within range of the scrap pile, meaning we can run to that circle, stand in it, and then click on the scrap pile to resume digging. Additionally, we can look to pop a defensive or an AoE ability, or even take out some of the trash mobs when they spawn. Personally, I found it better to cast spells or use abilities when these green swirlies pop up. So I tank a bit of damage and then they spawn. I wait for that green swirly which will knock me back. So because of that, I'd move out, deal with any of the mobs as quickly as I can pop up, and then click on the scrap pile again. But alternatively, if I'm a tank or I'm a healer, I would pop defensive abilities or cooldowns if they start to hurt in between the green swirlies, and then I'd click the scrap pile again. Lastly, I would suggest key binding your interact key to something accessible. For me, it's bound to my middle mouse button. It used to be on the letter H, but it's up to personal preference. Key binding makes it so that you can get the obstacles out of the way as quick as possible, especially if you're spamming it. So for example, opening the green bags that spawn around the scrap pile or kicking the bombs away. The next mount up is going to be the personalized Goblin Scrapper, which we'll get from opening the sifted pile of scrap. The mount has a 3% drop chance from opening these, but in order to get one, we'll exchange it with either empty Kaja Cola cans, which we dig up from the event, or a single vintage Kaja Cola can, which is unlocked when we reach Renown 14 with the Cartels of Undermine. Again, if we're doing the scrap event to farm for any of the previous mounts I mentioned, we'd have a ton of empty Kaja Cola cans, so we can mass exchange a ton and open a lot. Hopefully get the mount, but regardless, we'd get a lot of gold and mats from opening these boxes, so it's a win-win situation either way. As for the next mount on this list, it's going to be the Violet Goblin Shredder, which is rewarded from the caches we get from doing shipping and handling stuff. So as for how to actually get the mount, it will not be from any cache or box we have to open. Instead, we'll directly loop the mount into our bags. The mount is not tied to the price surge event. Instead, we will pick it up from just doing cart jobs. Take note that before spamming cart missions, it would be best to do that only after we're either at Renown 8 or even at Renown 12, due to the perks that we will unlock, which will give us the ability to receive that mount as a reward. Additionally, the more jobs that we do, that job streak we get from doing back-to-back cart jobs in a row, it will further boost the chance of getting us the mount. Now, before we move on, if during your cart jobs the feature or the mission start bugging out where you can't pick up a package, for example, or do a delivery, instead of canceling the job and picking up another one, which will ruin our job streak, we can instead head to the platform that teleports us to Dornigal and then teleport back. This will fix that bug and you'll be able to maintain your job streak and thus continue that job streak. For the next set of mounts, we'll talk talk about, they're going to be the reputation mounts. There's going to be 4 sub-cartels in Undermine, and from each one we can purchase a single mount. Now, one might argue that these reputation-based mounts aren't easy since we can only align to one of them each week, and we only have limited sources of reputation gain for them. However, we're considering the amount of effort, skill, and acquisition here. So those 4 sub-cartels are going to be Bilgewater, Steam Weedle, Venture Co, and Blackwater. Depending on which cartel we align with for the week, the activities will vary very slightly. Our main source of reputation for these are going to be from the 3 weekly quests we can pick up from S.C.R.A.P's Top Skimmer, located at the Intercontinental Hotel. The 3 of them will require us to complete activities in Undermine, which also tie in together with the previous mounts I mentioned. One of those weeklies require us to participate in 3 scrap digging events, while the other 2 require us to do shipping and handling, basically complete 10 cart jobs and participate in a surging price event, which happens on the half-hour point every hour. As a general tip for these, we can start doing our cart jobs to chip away at the objective, complete 10 jobs, at usually around 20 minutes past the hour. So for example, 2:20 p.m., 3:20 p.m., etc. Then when the price surge happens, we only need to receive any of the caches or boxes that the event rewards when certain amount of cart jobs are accomplished, which will give credit to this weekly. As for other sources of reputation, there are the weekly side gigs that have a predetermined sub-cartel they give reputation to, plus a little bit of reputation for the main cartel. Then we have the chet list. For those who don't know, the chet list can give us 500 reputation to our aligned cartel. And how we do this is actually quite simple. The chet list machine is just upstairs inside of the Intercontinental Hotel. So we'll get a chet list card, we'll have to complete 4 objectives, and these are randomly generated, and we can complete them in any order. It doesn't matter how we do it. Afterwards, we'll have to turn it back in. Instead of turning it into the chet machine, which will give us 250 Valor Stones, we can opt out and use an alternative, which is turning in that chet list to our aligned sub-cartel of the week. So we'll go to our quartermaster is what I'm saying. We'll go to them and exchange that card for one of these bags, and upon purchasing it, we'll get 500 reputation with our aligned cartel of the week. Take note that this can be done with our alts, so this is going to be a bit more grindy, but if you're up for the task, go ahead. As a footnote, you have to turn in 2 chet lists back to the chet machine in order to be able to convert our 3rd chet list of the week into reputation. If you have a lot of alts, then you can turn in 2 using 2 different characters before using the others to farm for that 500 reputation. But if you don't have that many alts, let's say for example you only have 1 or 2 characters in Undermine or at max level, then you can collect these chet cards, which we'll need to collect 40 of in order to request a new card from the chet machine. Now, as for where to get the chet cards, we'll be able to mainly get them from basically any Undermine residence or mob. So if you've already turned in all of your chet lists for the week on all of your alts and you have about 40 of these chet cards, then you can convert them to a new chet list over at the machine for an extra chet list. That's a lot of chets. Now for the mounts of each sub-cartel, we have the Crimson Armored Growler for Bilgewater, the Mean Green Flying Machine for Steam Weedle, the Ochre Delivery Rocket from Venture Co, and finally the Blackwater Shredder Deluxe from Blackwater. Take note that we have to be Exalted Reputation in order to purchase these. Now for the last set of mounts we'll talk about, they are going to be the Renown ones. We'll tackle the ones from the main cartel first, and then talk about the mount tied to the raid Renown. So from the Cartels of Undermine, we can work on getting the Violet Armored Growler, which we can purchase from S.C.R.A.P's Top Skimmer at the hotel once we reach Renown 15, and at Renown 19 we can get the Top Skimmer Special. We considered these easy since even casual players will be able to get up to this Renown level even if they only play to complete the weekly activities in Undermine, and those alone give quite a lot of reputation. Aside from the weeklies, we also have the rares in Undermine giving us an additional source of reputation, and we also have a chance of getting 1,000 reputation to the Cartels of Undermine when we open up a bountiful coffer from a bountiful delve. Now take this with a grain of salt that this method isn't guaranteed, since sometimes bountiful coffers only offer gear, and there might be an instance where they do give reputation but they don't give it to the Cartels of Undermine. Instead, they give it to another faction in Kazulgar. Now for the last mount on this list, it's going to be the Thunder Drum Misfire, which is unlocked after we reach Renown 8 with the Gallagio Loyalty Rewards Club, which is the Renown faction tied to the Liberation of Undermine. Now since we have 3 wings of the LFR unlocked this week and the 4th and final one coming next week, we can comfortably fast track our reputation to work our way to Renown 8. As for how we gain reputation, the bosses will give us 400 150 each. Taking down certain lieutenants found in elite packs of mobs will give us reputation. However, due to the Renown global cap, we will only be able to level up our Renown by the current week. But for players who haven't even begun yet, or haven't had the time to catch up, or haven't had the time to play, the catch-up system is implemented, which will rapidly progress them and carry them to that current weekly cap. Once we reach Renown 8, we'll be able to purchase the mount from Endo the Gat, who is located just upstairs when we enter the raid, and they'll be selling the mount for 500 gold. So if you're looking to gain reputation for this raid Renown, we could simply queue up for LFR, do up to 5 bosses to finish the weekly cap, and even get a bonus by getting additional items and equipment. But that's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you sticking around. Leave a like and subscribe if you found this type of video informative and useful, and we'll see you in the next one.